Thanks again for staying with us on the show, TMI Monday. Let's go straight to our talking point. This time we want to talk about the environment. That's because the environment is key in everything that we are doing. Without a sustainable environment, there can't be sustainable livelihoods. Taking the conversation further, we must start with the young people, have them indoctrinated in protecting the environment. That's one of the ways we can actually sustain protecting the environment. I'd like to thank, joining us in the studio, Young Environmental Rights Action member, talking about Ebanehita Oyamede. Ebanehita, thank you for joining on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. We also have with us here in the studio, Yusuf David. Yeah, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, sir.
I'm always excited talking about, if I have the opportunity to talk about issues that relates to the environment, and even more so when I have the opportunity to interface with young people who are very environmentally conscious. And that gives you some sort of hope that, yes, conversation, advocacy, discussion, and what have you is making tremendous impact. And I think of someone like Dr. Uyi Ojo, the Executive Director of Environmental Rights Action, who is always, out there to create platforms for people to find their rhythm when it comes to environmental issues. It's quite commendable. So, 2022 World Environment Day. Let's begin from the basics. In your opinion, how germane is the thought of celebrating World Environment Day?
Okay, the World Environment Day is actually a day that I feel should even be celebrated twice a year.
Twice?
Yes, because the environment is our life, is our home. Without the environment, there will be no human existence. It's like the ecological niche holding everybody together. That's the environment. Coming out of your home is another home, which is the environment, in simple terms. So the World Environment Day is actually very important to be celebrated, to make people aware, because people are only concerned about their homes. They are in their homes, their parlor, sitting room. They forget about outside, that without the outside world, which is the habitat, there will be no home for them to live in. So I feel the Environmental Day should be taken serious by everyone. Most people are not even aware that there's a day stipulated for the environment, which is very sad. It should be everywhere. Everyone should be aware about it. So I feel the sensitization should go on and on about everybody knowing that there's a World Environment Day, which is June 5th, and everybody should be involved.
Fantastic. Let me come to you, David. How do we get young people to have more of this consciousness in terms of protecting the environment? Not just young people. How do we get more people to have this consciousness about protecting the environment?
Okay, thank you. Going about making people conscious of the environment, it's a collective thing. It requires the government, it requires institutions like the universities, the colleges. It will involve CSOs, the civil society organizations. They have to corporately come together, especially in this part of the world, where we seem to be lagging behind in terms of environmental issues. To create platforms for workshops, awareness. You made mention of Dr. Uyi Ojo, a foremost environmental rights activist. So those collective, collaborative efforts needs to be actually put in place to drive environmental consciousness and awareness.
Fantastic. Let's zero in on the theme for this year. What's the theme for this year, and how relevant is this theme to the realities on the ground, talking about the challenges of the environment and the prospect in terms of finding lasting solutions?
Okay, the theme for this year is Only One Earth. It's more like a theme for us to remember that aside this planet, we have nowhere else. We cannot survive in Jupiter, we cannot survive in Mars, we cannot survive in Pluto. So the Earth is our only ecological place. And we have to know that we have to preserve it. We have to use sustainable factors. We have to know that this is not only the generation available for this Earth. So we have to be sustainable so the other generations can meet this planet conducive for them to live in.
How relevant is this thing, Dave? Okay. Only one Earth. This is the only Earth that we have. And if we must continue to enjoy what is given to us, we must also think of the next set of generations coming. Will they meet this Earth in its form and its flourish to be able to sustain livelihoods even up to that time and beyond that time?
We can actually achieve that if we use the environment sustainably. And that's why the World Environment Day is actually here, to bring to our consciousness that if we continue to use the environment in destructive ways, in selfish ways, we may not have an environment for our coming generation. So hence, the need to use it sustainably presently.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about one of the major challenging pollutants in the environment, which has to do with plastic pollution. I'm just trying to look at some of the follow-up activities in New Statement, hearing that there's a mass of plastic somewhere the size of France. All right, it's disheartening. Give us your take on this.
Okay, I read a research that says that 14 million tons of plastic are deposited into the oceans every year. 14 million tons. If this continues, in the coming years, the size of plastic that would be in the oceans would be as big as a continent if we continue like this. So plastic can be reused, plastics can be recycled, but we are not in for that, especially in a country like Nigeria. Other countries are moving into using of paper bags, using of degradable items. But in Nigeria, we are not in for that. Nobody is using their plastics. If you even bring this Zobo juice that they sell in plastic, if it's in a used plastic, they'll tell you, no, I don't want that.
Yeah,
I want a fresh pack, a new one, a brand new one. I want to be the first person to use it.
Okay.
Nobody wants to recycle. Nobody wants to reuse. Everybody wants it new. So plastic keeps coming up.
Yeah.
They keep producing plastic to meet the demands of humans, and hence it's already like the size of France right now in the ocean.
Yeah.
Very soon it will be bigger than that.
Fantastic. And that will spell more doom for the environment. You want to add something to that? I mean, plastic as a major challenge. I mean, I'm seeing 1 million plastic drinking bottles purchased every minute, and up to 5 trillion disposable plastic bags used every year. Plastic pollution is threatening our ecosystems, biodiversity, and our health at a pace and scale never seen before. 83% of tap water contains plastic particles, and its toxic chemicals can be found in our bloodstream. Can you believe that? Plastic have been found at a depth of 36,000 feet inside the Mariana Trench. And then we have that a massive island of plastic 3 times the size of France.
3 times.
Is currently floating between California and Hawaii. These are, why is it that even when we hear things like this, we still have some sort of resistance in changing the way we behave in protecting the environment? Let me come to Dave.
Okay, basically I think it's because there's very little awareness. That's the fact. If people know that this thing will actually cause harm and they are conscious of it, they will be willing to take steps to avoid that, right? But when it comes to the environment, it's like, is it not just plastic? After I use, I'll just
throw it off.
Exactly. And it has nothing to do with whether one is actually educated or not. One can actually be educated and not know about anything environment. That's the fact. So what we can actually do is to bring to consciousness. It's not just the talking, but it's like child upbringing.
Okay.
You can do something in that light that will actually drive consciousness to the minds of people that this thing actually has impact on our environment. That's how to go about it, sir.
Okay, so talking about driving this into the consciousness of the people out there, at the level of Young Environmental Rights Action, what are you guys doing to drive home this consciousness?
Okay, we believe like we have a program called Catch Them Young. which we have energy school clubs in secondary schools. We have about 20 in Edo State presently in different communities, where we give them manuals, the teachers, just like though we have JET club and the like. So this is like an energy school club where we teach them about environmental issues, and we let them know that these plastics, I feel why people are reluctant about the plastic issue is because they feel it affects the aquatic body and it doesn't affect the humans, which is actually very funny because there's a food chain.
Yeah.
Everything is in like a circle.
Yeah.
The fishes, they ingest these plastics in form of microplastics.
Yeah.
And when they ingest it, we buy fishes, we eat this fish. And plastics are part of carcinogens that can cause cancers in fishes and even in humans.
Absolutely.
When we ingest them. So I feel if people are aware that there's a risk of me getting cancer when I eat fish from the ocean that is polluted, then
plastics,
I should actually be careful in what I take into the oceans. If you go around Lagos and the likes, if you see plastics in the ocean, you would be really only Lagos. So we try to let these children know about the damages that plastic can cause and make them woke. When they go home, they tell their parents, the parents go home and tell others. So that's what we are actually doing in Young Friends of the Earth Nigeria.
Fantastic, fantastic. There's a pond that was dug along PZ Road of Sapele Road. The idea in digging that pond is like a water retention spot because it's like a valley. So rather than allow the water to flow and get the road flooded, they dug that pond so it retains water and then the roads can be free. If you go along Irijawa 2 or Sapele Road, a similar one was dug. But if you go there now, you're going to find heaps of plastics, tons of plastics on the surface of those waters. Now, in spite of the level of communication that we've had, advocacy, education, and all of that, plastics still find their ways into these environments because people have refused to change. Once they finish drinking water from a bottle, they throw it off. From a can, they throw it off. So how can we expand the scope of engagement to reduce plastic pollution as a major environmental challenge? Dave?
Okay, education is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
What we can do as a nation that wants to actually protect its environment is to include in our curriculums environmental related subjects, make it a key subject like every other subject at the primary level, secondary level, and at the university, of course, there are courses on environment.
Okay.
Another thing is to bring about policies. Now, there are policies, but that are not being executed. They just have policies and they don't really work. They don't really serve any purpose. So policies should be revisited. Then policies that are irrelevant, that will not help to make the environment sustainable, they should be wiped out and rewritten. So things like that can come in. Then, like I emphasized earlier, programs, awareness programs. You know, there's this thing of when you bring something before me every time, I get to see it over and over again. It drives in a kind of consciousness, and just like you are doing this morning.
Thank you. Just like ITV is doing this morning. Thank you. What are your parting words? World Environment Day 2022.
Okay, I want everyone to know that after us, there are others. So we should take good care of our environment, knowing that if there's no environment, there's no us. Whatever money we are making becomes useless if there's no environment for us to spend it on or live in. So we should take good care, avoid discarding things anyhow. Be conscious that these things that you are discarding, they go into the oceans and somehow they come back to me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Parting words, yeah?
Okay, I call on the young people to take it as an initiative because in a couple of years' time, most of the old ones that do not really know much about these issues we are discussing, they will not be here. And then they will be left with the burden of
what they probably have created,
yes.
in a sense.
So
yeah.
I call on them to take initiative, to be involved. And then the government, CSOs, media teams, and everybody should just be involved to protect our environment.
All right, thank you guys for creating the time to be here. Ibanehita Oyameda is Young Environmental Rights Action of Nigeria member. I want to thank you for coming, as well as David Yusuf. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for the good job that you're doing. Okay, CTMI Monday. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with you with the rest of the program, but you've got to make an effort to protect the environment. That water bottle that you just throw off a moving vehicle, you'll be shocked that it will end up in the ocean, maybe somewhere in California or anywhere else, and continue to constitute nuisance to the environment. Worst case scenario is going to find themselves or find itself in a fish, and you will eat that fish, and you could get cancer in the process of consuming that fish, because plastics and its attendant products, they are carcinogenic, just like Ibanehita said a while ago. Have you ever wondered why in our world today we have more incidences of cancerous diseases, kidney failures, all of those things we used to hear about, you know, at a very faint dimension? They're so real and so huge now that one can't really explain how all of these things are coming. But there are a lot of literatures out there that gives you insight into how all of these things are happening. The environment is not as friendly as it used to be. The environment is heavily polluted, be it land, be it water, be it air, be it soil, just name it. And you and I can take it up as a responsibility to change that narrative by doing what is right in protecting the environment. That's the only way the environment can continue to sustain us. We'll take a break. We'll be back with you in a moment. Don't go away.